After understanding what happens to food inside a refrigerator during a power outage, the next obvious question is this. If the blackout lasts for hours, or even days, what food can you actually trust? Because here's the uncomfortable truth. In a real blackout, the most dangerous mistake is not hunger. It's false confidence. People don't usually get sick because they had no food. They get sick because they trusted the wrong food. So let's separate facts from assumptions and clearly understand which foods genuinely survive a blackout and which ones almost never do. Let's start with the most misunderstood category, refrigerated food. Many people assume that if food still feels cold, it must be safe. But temperature is not a feeling, and it's a number. Once perishable food crosses the safe temperature zone for several hours, safety becomes uncertain, even if it looks fine. Dairy products are a good example. Milk, cream, yogurt, soft cheeses. These are among the first foods to become unsafe after a prolonged outage. They contain moisture, protein, and sugars which bacteria love. The scary part is that dairy often spoils after bacteria have already multiplied. So by the time you smell something sour, the damage was done hours ago. Cooked leftovers are another major risk. Cooked rice, pasta, curries, soups, especially those containing oil or moisture, are perfect environments for bacterial growth once cooling stops. Reheating does not guarantee safety because some bacteria leave behind toxins that heat cannot destroy. This is why leftover food is one of the leading causes of food poisoning after disasters. Raw meat and poultry are even more deceptive. They may feel cold inside while the surface warms enough to support rapid bacterial growth. The center temperature can fool you, but bacteria live and multiply on the surface first. If raw meat has been unrefrigerated for hours during a blackout, trusting it is a gamble, not a decision. Eggs also deserve special attention. In many countries, eggs are washed before sale, removing their natural protective coating. This makes them far more sensitive to temperature changes. Once refrigeration is compromised for extended periods, eggs become risky even if they look perfectly normal. So, if refrigerated foods are unreliable, what does survive? This is where shelf-stable foods quietly become the heroes. Dry foods like rice, lentils, beans, oats, pasta, flour, and grains are among the safest options during a blackout. As long as they are kept dry and sealed, they remain usable for months or even years. Their safety does not depend on electricity, only on basic storage discipline. Canned foods are another reliable category. Properly sealed cans of vegetables, fruits, beans, meat, and fish remain safe without refrigeration. Even during long outages, canned food stays stable because bacteria cannot grow without oxygen inside sealed containers. The only time canned food becomes unsafe is if the can is bulging, leaking, or damaged. Nuts, seeds, peanut butter, and dry snacks also perform well. They are calorie-dense, slow to spoil, and don't rely on cold storage. In real survival scenarios, these foods provide energy without introducing health risks. Honey is one of the most remarkable foods in this category. It does not spoil. Ever. Archaeologists have found edible honey in ancient tombs. In a blackout, honey remains as safe on day 10 as it was on day 1. Salt, sugar, and spices are also completely unaffected by power loss. They don't just survive blackouts. They make survival food more tolerable and sustainable. Then there are foods that sit in the gray zone. Hard cheeses can sometimes survive longer than soft cheeses because they contain less moisture. Butter may last longer than milk due to its fat content, but it still becomes risky if left warm for too long. Whole fruits and vegetables vary widely. Apples and oranges survive far better than cut fruits or leafy greens. The moment produce is cut, cooked, or peeled, its safety clock speeds up. And this brings us to an important principle. In a blackout, food safety is not about categories. It's about moisture, protein, temperature, and time. Foods that are dry, sealed, and low in moisture survive. Foods that are wet, protein-rich, and temperature-dependent fail first. This understanding changes how you should act during an outage. People with real disaster experience don't wait until food becomes questionable. They eat the most fragile food first while it's still safe, and switch to shelf-stable food early. They don't save refrigerated food for later, because later is exactly when it becomes dangerous. This section is based on practical field survival experience, rather than formal academic sources. There's also a psychological trap worth mentioning. When power returns, people feel relief. Systems are back. The crisis feels over, and that's when many people make their worst food decisions. Eating questionable leftovers because throwing them away feels unnecessary now. But safety doesn't return instantly with electricity. Bacteria don't rewind the clock. In survival situations, discipline matters more than optimism. Trusting the right food keeps you strong. Trusting the wrong food weakens you when you can least afford it. So if there's one lesson to remember, it's this. Surviving a blackout isn't about how much food you have. It's about knowing which food to trust and when to let go. Because in real emergencies, the difference between being prepared and being vulnerable is often as simple as what you choose to eat.